Should we just start off with the shot?
Yeah, just start with the shot.
Okay.
This is a shot, but it's in ice, FYI.
Okay.
Cheers. Ready?
I'm scared.
Coming in hot.
Okay.
Today we have a very, very special guest, Claudine Cho. She is the multifaceted, full of heart artist extraordinaire, and also really, really, really wonderful close friend of mine. And I'm so excited to have her on today's episode. But before we do intros and all of that in true samcha fashion, we are going to go and share what we're eating and drinking.
Okay, I'll go. Okay, so I'm drinking LaCroix guava. Have you guys tried guava?
Is that new?
It's very good. It's very no, I think it's been around for a while, but very, very good. Put you on that. And then just drinking straight mezcal. So that'll be the shot of choice today. And then I'm like going true, like I feel this is very Korean, I feel, but I'm going this is like changjorim, but it's beef jerky.
Oh,
So same thing.
That sounds
Same
good.
thing. So
flavored.
yeah. Oh no. Oh. Wait.
That's an idea.
Okay, that's an idea. We'll write that down.
Okay. I am drinking. I just took a shot of some Grey Goose, and then I have the orange peach mango juice from Trader Joe's, which is like my little chaser. I also have like my Hydro Flask full of water. I have a liquid IV. I'm like very hydrated. And then my snack, this is leftover from our Eras Tour watch party the other night, but I've got some Boom Chicka Pop kettle corn and hot Cheetos and hot fries, so
Yum.
munching on that.
Yum, yum, yum.
Amazing.
I brought lots of different alcohols. This is Hana Soju from Alice of Hana Makgeolli. She did like a
Beautiful.
special release soju. It's not meant to be taken as a shot, but we will do that at some point. Very, very strong. It's so strong that like it sort of knocks you back a dimension, like back to your ancestors. It's very,
Wow.
Love it.
it's beautiful
What's-
though. It's like earthy and kind of hazelnutty. I'll give you more tasting notes when I take another shot. And then some satol, which is like basically like the cousin of mezcal is probably the way to think about it.
It says
Ooh.
flower of the desert.
Yeah. Ooh, she's
Ooh.
bilingual. She's trilingual.
Thank you, Duolingo.
And then I brought
Call
matching
us.
little cups
Amazing.
to like the cultural theme.
Love
Look
it.
at those cups.
It's so cute. And then my snacks are also very Korean. I have some nuts. I have some dried jujubes and dried persimmons from my dad's trees in LA.
Wow.
It is a blessing and can't wait for harvest to start again because I've given away all my treats around
Oh
this
my
last bug.
gosh.
But yeah, I'm so excited to be here.
Yay. I have this, what is this? Espresso tonic that I forgot to drink all day. So I'll be sipping on this. And then I have Igangju, which is in this crazy bottle. It's not as strong, but I am taking shots of this in this really beautiful Celadon cup. And then I grabbed a whole ass tray of blueberries from the fridge.
That's a huge thing of blueberries.
It's like the giant carton, like Costco size. So that's what I'm eating and drinking. Today, we are going to be talking about creating and being an artist. Claudine is one of the most creative people, artistic souls that I know. And so we're going to be diving into getting to know her, hearing about her projects, her process, and how that has really like meshed in with her identity. And so we're going to be diving into all of this goodness today. So should we cheers on that?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. We wanted to kick off the first chat with getting to know more about you, Claudine. You have had many, many, many lifetimes in your career, and I feel like you've done a lot of different fun projects, have put in your energy and time into very different fields too. So do you want to like kick it off and just like walk us through your all of the things that you have been pouring your heart and energy into, in terms of your creative spirits and your artistic prowess?
Thank you. I, right now I work as a political speechwriter, and my background is a bit starts in activism. I think that I was a child who was like deeply in grief my whole life, just feeling like my heart was always breaking, feeling like there was something that I needed to do and get off my chest. And it was in college when my professor told me, go towards what makes you tremble. And I heard her say, go towards what makes your heart break. And so ever since then, I always sought to do the thing that broke my heart most. Because if I didn't really have the questions or the answers to life's big questions, I could be certain that my heart would lead me in the right way. Because life is nothing short of heartbreak, which sounds pretty bleak, but I think that's how I've navigated my world and how I've made sense of it. So I think I'll start from maybe going towards heartbreak, which was like a project that I took on right after college. I had first learned about comfort women who were women from Korea, Philippines, Taiwan, Netherlands, Japan, who were forced into sexual slavery during World War II by the Japanese Imperial Army. And I remember hearing about their history for the first time in college, and it really broke my heart because of my own history with sexual assault, and it was something that I was surprised to learn in college because it's such a big part of Korean history, and yet it's sort of a hidden history that my parents didn't tell me, and it's not something that I picked up in like K-dramas or anything like that. And so in college, when the Japanese Prime Minister at the time, Shinzo Abe, came to visit to give a talk celebrating the 70th anniversary to the end of World War II, at that time, Japan had not acknowledged their part in committing these atrocities. And so I staged a protest, and that protest went kind of viral because we had a former comfort woman who was touring the States at the time come and sit with us. Hundreds of students came out to protest. And it was like the first time, I think, in America that young people in mass kind of stepped up to a world leader being like, we're going to hold you accountable for these crimes that have not been atoned for, acknowledged. And so that was a start of like going towards something that really broke my heart. And through that experience, I found that there was so much healing to be found in going towards the things that kind of felt too scary to touch, that made me sad or gave me grief. And so then it was a natural transition from there to moving to Korea. And I like went to Korea with this idea that heartbreak is a physical experience. And so when I was in Korea, I got a heart rate monitor, and I like a runner's monitor, and I wrapped it around my chest, and I wore it for a year. Actually, it was like 9 months straight, every single day, to see if I could track the moments that broke my heart, hoping that there would be some alignment. And I found that it did. I think it was just like a really affirming experience. And from there, it just made sense that I continued my life down this path where I just used my heart as this compass. Like, the reason I think, like Christine mentioned, I've had and lived so many different lives and have done a lot of different things, um, and used to build art exhibitions and worked on a couple presidential campaigns. And they all seem really disparate and disconnected experiences. But for me, it all made sense together. And sort of, even if I was the most inexperienced person in the room or I didn't know as much as other people, I knew that like I was earnest and I was curious and I had heart. And so I knew that there would be opportunity for me to at least try. And so I've always sort of jumped from thing to thing, being the person who was the most willing to learn, but probably other people didn't think I made sense in that space. Yeah, but there are so many other things to unpack. I just kind of, every time I'm asked to share, it kind of takes a different direction. That's kind of the genesis of my story.
And I think like when Claudine and I have been friends for a few years now, and I think that like at the heart of a lot of the work that she decides to take on, it's always about storytelling. It's always about impactful, beautiful storytelling. And I think that when it's about herself or about others, it's always like shining a light on how to make these stories resonate. And at the core of that is like speaking with your heart too. So that's like one thing that is like so clear to me in like your journey in your career is that it's like very heart based, it's very story based, and they're like very very rich, powerful narratives too.
Even just the way that you described, like kind of gave us your background, you like told it in such a captivating way. You have a way with words, which makes sense because you're a writer. So that's great. Is there like a favorite story that comes to mind? Just if you think about like could be from your own experiences, but could also be like a piece of
Pinocchio or
media.
like
Yeah, it could be a piece of media that has inspired you in your life.
I I was reflecting on this and I was having trouble thinking of something, which is kind of silly because there's so many stories. Um, the resurrection because it's Easter. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to think.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
That feels
I
kind
like
of a
that story too.
cop-out. Wait, what about you guys? Because I'm like, I gotta.
Hmm. I don't know about I mean, sometimes I hate asking favorite because then it really makes you like wrestle, mentally
Yeah.
because you're like, which one's my favorite? But a recent favorite story was Poor Things, like the film with Emma
Mm,
Stone. Did you all watch it?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Christine, you don't watch it? I mean,
No.
I'll try not to spoil, but I just loved the story of just like what would a person or a woman be like without the barriers or the um I'm already drunk. The like the
Like
guidelines,
parameters.
parameters, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The parameters of society. So I just thought that was a really beautiful, thought-provoking story. So that's a recent one that I enjoyed.
I'm reading Free Food for Millionaires right now by Min
Mm.
Jin Lee.
Mhm.
And that book I can't quite put down
Mm.
because there are so many trigger touch points for me. And
Mm.
I think that's that's one of my favorite stories as actually no, there's a story. I'm gonna pivot. There's a story we got that, sorry, mention me. But there's this there's a story by I forgot the author's name, but it's about him um oh, it's called Love and Other Ways of Dying. And it's a book of short essays by this GQ author. And he talks about meeting a giant. And this man is just the tallest man to have lived. And he's describing all these peculiar things about him. But I remember the point of that story, it was kind of sad because the giant passed away, but he was saying um, everything about him was large, including his heart. And so maybe like the weight and the size of his heart was too big for this world, and that
Gosh.
is part of his story and part of his passing, which wasn't meant to be
Mm,
sad, but it was.
I like
I
that.
remember taking a picture of it and like posting it on Instagram
Mm.
on my grid,
Aw.
like back in
Oh, main grid,
2014.
main
Oh,
post.
Yeah.
that's major. That's major.
Wow, that your heart could be so big that like all our
Yeah.
hearts are different sizes.
Mm.
That was kind of
Mm.
an exciting thought for me.
Mine is like the most memorable story that like comes to mind is something that there's like humor in it, and maybe we've like brought it up in the past, but it's just every time I think of this like incident in my life, I just can't stop laughing. And it was when I was in high school. We were in this program where like all the girls sat down to talk about their period stories.
Oh, this one.
And then it was not just like one girl story, but like two girl stories right next to each other. Like it was one after the other. And one girl is like this, her kind of like persona is this like precious girl with like a very soft spoken voice. And she's like, yeah, I like had my period and we celebrated as a family. We had dinner together with my grandma. And the other girl is like this really tall blonde girl who's like hangs out with the guys, and she's kind of like one of the dudes. And she's also really funny and wacky and goofy. And she's like, yeah, my period story is um I I was putting a tampon, I was using a tampon for the first time, and I noticed that I was still bleeding and it wasn't working, and then I found out that I put it in the wrong hole. She sat down. And so it's just in my mind,
Oh.
like when I think about stories, it's like two people's stories coming. It's like a coming of age story that you're telling and confessing in front of all of your peers, one after the other. And it's just, yeah, that's just a story that it might not be my favorite, but it's like one of the more memorable ones for sure.
Yeah, that is etched into my brain.
Yeah. Christina was there.
I've heard of a OBGYN doing that, like a trainee, like a doctor
Oh
trainee
no.
was like, mm-hmm, was like, was like, okay, come here and like come feel the baby's head. And so the trainee went in. I already spoiled it, but the trainee went in and stuck two fingers in and was like, fuck, I can't feel the baby's head. Like, the baby's not there. Was like freaking out. And the pregnant lady just goes, that's the wrong hole.
The wrong hole.
Wow, the pregnant lady's like so sweet. I would have been like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Like, she waited
Homeboy.
until
Yeah,
she
homeboy,
was
wrong hole.
Man.
I'm so curious where this trainee is now.
I don't know. Don't go there.
Back in school.
Yeah, back in school, not a doctor.
Oh god.
It's confusing. They're very close to each other, you know?
They're so close to each other.
It's
It's
really
dangerous.
Like a little too close.
Yeah, if you've never been there, you just don't know. You just
I mean, there's only so much space, but there's
Yeah.
three whole, there's three different holes.
Megan, do you want to share a story, or are you?
I do, but it's back to something a little bit more serious, and I feel like we ended on like a fun note. So let's stay there.
Wait,
and then
we can
I'll
go back to
share.
this, and it'll help us transition to Icha, like set us in a.
Okay. Okay.
just go for
That's
it.
true.
Out.
I'm just-
There's
No, okay,
rules.
so it's not that serious, but it's just more serious than, three holes where like your vagina is.
Yeah.
But I've just been, and it's not really like a story, but it's like just like a very specific like moment. And it happened like a few weeks ago, I was with Jane Chong here in the city, and we met at this like wine bar to like drink and, you know, have dinner. And I was waiting there, and she comes in, and there was another girl at the bar. And when Jane came in, the girl at the bar was like, "Oh my gosh, like Jane!" And they, you know, they knew each other. It was an acquaintance, and they hugged and they were chatting. And so then like I came in and we were like all chatting, and this girl, I wish I remembered her name. I'm so sorry. I'm like terrible with names, but I just remember she was like unapologetically herself. She like pulled up her Instagram, started showing me, who she's met for the very first time, like all the art she's been doing, and talking to Jane and catching her up. And she did kind of like pause and kind of apologize to like me and to Jane, because she was kind of like, you know, she was like taking up a little bit of space. But to me, I was kind of watching this and being like, holy shit, like this is really awesome. Cause like I met her for the first time, and I'm so sorry I don't know her name, but like I know her art, and like I know what she's about. And it kind of made me reflect on the way that maybe I tend to kind of not take up space, because I keep thinking about, oh, like how I'm going to show up for this, or how I'm going to show up in front of this person, or like what are these two, like, you know, these two, for example, I was one of three. So, you know, I would think about how those other two people, you know, what their relationship is, and ooh, if I'm in the way, or like, you know, whatever it is. And so usually I'm thinking about all of these things, and I don't tend to open my mouth, or I don't tend to share what's going on, because, oh, maybe it's out of context or this or that. But it's happened. This incident kind of happened, like 3-ish weeks ago now, I think. And I've been thinking about it a lot. And so anyway, like I think, Claudine, when you shared a little bit about like the projects maybe that you're involved with, and you talking about like the inspiration, or you going with a certain project, following your heart, taking up space, and just doing what your heart tells you, I think that that's really beautiful. And now I'm just rambling.
Thank you for sharing that.
That was
Yeah.
beautiful. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
That was great.
And it was really nice too, because after she had like talked about herself a little bit, and then she, you know, she obviously went back to her friend. And then Jane kind of was like, oh, like, so, you know, kind of like, she wasn't apologizing, but she was kind of acknowledging that, like, you know, that might have been a lot. But I was like, dude, no, like, that girl is sick. Like, she just spent like 10 minutes in front of somebody that like I had no idea. And she also, not only did she not know who I was, but she didn't know like how I was going to take all of that stuff. But like, she didn't give a shit, right? Because it was just her art and like what she wanted to share. And I was like, that's so sick. Like, I need to be more like that.
But I'm
Yeah, it was
I'm
it
sure
was
that
it was awesome.
that artist was also picking up on your energy, because it's also like you can
Mm,
tell when someone's receptive or when someone's locked in, and you're probably giving, like, even
mm,
if you didn't say it, like just like a whisper of an interest, like she could sense that. And like a lot of artists are intuitive, so they
Mm.
can, she was probably like, I trust this
mm.
person to share myself with.
I love that. I'll take it.
Eh,
I'll take
I
it.
get that from you though.
I'll
I feel like
accept
you have a
it.
really like very trusting persona.
Are we doing our
Mm.
second shot?
Oh, wait, are we doing our
Let's
second
do, yeah,
shot? Oh my
let's
god.
doing our baby shot. It's a baby shot.
Baby shot.
Shot.
Okay.
I did like,
It's a
yeah,
baby shot.
little
Cheers.
whisper.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to each.
I think like touching on Megan's last point of like telling the story about your art and taking up space, we'd love to now open up space for you, Claudine, to share about all of these projects that you have poured yourself into, from going towards heartbreak. A part of that, there's a lot of different public art installations that Claudine had done across not only the United States, but also in Korea, right? Um, uh, Going on and being Elizabeth Warren's sidekick during her campaign. And then now she is, I mean, there's so much more, but now she's a director and producer, storyteller through Oofstories, which is telling beautiful stories about Asian American API artists. So, would love to kind of dive into this world of like the mind of Claudine and when she creates, like what's going on. Because I've been a witness to some of the process, but I would love for Megan and Christina and all of us to just have this conversation about creation and creating, because we are all creators in some aspects. So just would love to connect on
Yeah.
that.
And if I may, I would love to hear specifically also just like your creative process or like things that you do to get into that creative mindset for all these different projects you work
Yeah.
on.
I guess I'll start with that question first about creative process. I think that I was journaling today about the things that I distract myself with and like the way I interrupt myself. Like, and I think that for me, the creative process starts, it really does start with intention. Like, I have to wake up and feel good that day. If I don't, I'll take a shower. And like, for me, water is a way that I sort of reset my body. So I love taking I love getting my body wet. I love showering. So sorry.
Speaking of holes,
Yeah.
wait, you're a Scorpio, right? Are you a
I'm a
Scorpio?
Libra, but all
Oh,
my
Libra.
all my friends are
Oh!
Scorpios, so I'm a
Yeah,
kind of
because
a
you like the
masochist.
water.
Yeah, I guess. No, but I love taking a shower. Like anytime I feel like I'm in a funk or I feel depressed and I don't know how to like shock my body into resetting, I'll take a shower. Um,
Mm.
and that's sort
And a
of,
bath. You're
yeah,
a bath girly
I'm
too,
a
right?
big bath girl. Like I love taking a
Mm.
bath. Um, but starting with that, I like will play some music. Like I have a lot of playlists for different things. But for me, I don't know about you guys, but because a lot of the things that I'm creating, it comes from the heart and comes with things that I'm processing. I have to feel like I'm in a safe place. Like I have to be comfy. I have to have like a blanket or pillow around, and I need some time to just stare off into space a little bit. Um, and then when all those things are set, I just naturally start to feel like when there's a lot of stillness, a lot will come up for me, and then I'll just start to journal, or I'll just start to kind of visualize, because for me, like the medium matters. Like there's a lot of stories that I want to tell, but not they don't always have to be through writing. That's why like I've now make films, or I've once made exhibitions, and there are certain stories that don't work as an essay. They work more like a children's book, or they work as a speech. Like it kind of, you can't really force the medium onto it. And so I think a lot of the times I'm exploring which medium works best for me. Because for a long time I tried to write this story and I thought it has to be a book, it has to be a book, and realizing that I had more visual language than I had like emotional language for it. And I was like, I think this needs to be like a screenplay rather than like a memoir or a book. So I've been taking just time to read some screenplays. I took a class, or more of a book club for screenplays, which you all are invited to. It's called
Ooh, that
Screen
sounds
Club.
cool.
We did Moonlight the other day. And
Ooh.
so to set up for that, I kind of turned on candles and played the Moonlight soundtrack, read Moonlight, and it was like 11 p.m. at night when it was like quiet, and I just kind of locked in and threw all my like electronics away, and then I just read, and that felt nice. I think it's more about like creating my environment in a way that tells me this is intentional for creating. This isn't just like chilling and feeling like there is something to produce at the end of this, and there's a purpose for it. Yeah, it's not really like a set process though. I kind of do what I feel like, but I used to do podcasts back in the day, like 10 years ago. And that's, I don't know about you guys, but hearing your voice makes it change. Do you feel like your voice has changed
What do
at
you
all?
mean?
Like my voice used to be a lot higher pitched, and then I started
Oh.
doing podcasts, and then I realized that when I'm having like more serious conversations with people, my voice drops down like a notch. Like right now, this is like kind of a lower register for me. But like I think it's also like tonal too. Like depending on what you're talking about and who you're talking to, your voice can also change. So I've often used my voice and the tone to kind of lock me into like a specific feeling or a vibe. Maybe that's a
I think
little.
it's
It's
like
like
how
mentally
comfortable.
prepping.
It's like
Yeah.
how comfortable you are too, I think, because yeah, if I look at some of my older YouTube videos, my voice is higher because it's
Yeah.
like you're still like trying to present yourself in a certain way or whatever. So I think yeah, there's times where that still comes out, but then it's more like the more comfortable you are, or I guess like confident, then you can kind of get into that natural, whatever the natural relaxed register
Yeah.
is,
It kind of just
I
like
find.
locks in.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way about like my speed. Not necessarily like my tone, but my speed. Like I definitely know when I'm like meeting someone for the first time, or like I feel like I need to like really show up and show out. I try and speak a little bit faster,
Mm-mm.
but that's not my normal speed. My normal speed is like really slow,
Mm.
but when I'm meeting someone for the first time, I'm like, oh, I need to be on. I need to seem sharp, so I kind of
Yeah.
have that
Yeah.
vibe. And I think when I'm recording, I can get that way too. And then obviously the alcohol doesn't help because that, makes you just like go crazy and ramble. But yeah, I think normally, or like what I want is for my speed to just be like a little bit slower.
Yeah.
And that is kind of my normal, but yeah, I definitely notice my speed a little bit.
Yeah. Like, I think that's kind of a subtle way of like bringing someone into the plane that you're at. Like, if they're up here and I consistently stay here, there will be like a bridging of that gap. And I think that maybe is one way, like, I've tried to not let other people's energies sort of move me in their direction, just like holding the line for myself because I'm so like bendable. like I'm kind of down for anything. I'll I'll do
Libra.
whatever. Yeah.
Libra.
It's just like this all
Libra.
the time. Yeah. So then when I talk or when I'm like talking about my art, like I notice I tend to like just kind of hold it right here. And it's what I was noticing when I jumped on. I was like, oh, my energy is, where am I today? Okay, we'll go with it.
That's so powerful though, is that like in other contexts you're like flexible, but when it comes to talking about your art, it's like you are unwavering and you're like, meet me here. This is my art. I am not going to morph it around you. It's like, this is centered right here.
I also really like what you said about when you were reflecting about the ways that you interrupt yourself. I've never thought of things that way before. Of when you get distracted or whatever, it's like that's interrupting yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be my thing I noodle on this week.
Yeah. And we like choose to
Christina,
do it.
well, I was gonna say because Christina, you're probably doing 17 things.
Oh my God, yeah, literally.
At once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like always interrupting myself.
Is oof kind of at the forefront of your, like, is that like the medium right now that you are, I don't want to say you're really passionate about, but is that kind of at the forefront of your mind currently? And if it is, then would you talk a little bit more about oof? And if it's not, then talk about whatever
Yeah.
you feel like is at the forefront.
No, for sure. Um, Oof is a documentary collective that I run with my partner Chad and one of my best friends Esther, and we make short documentaries, or actually all types of documentaries about Asian and Asian American creators, builders, connectors, anyone whose stories that compels us that we want to tell. It's often we pick our subjects based on like what we might personally be going through at the time, like whether it be inspiration or resonance or a challenge to like our own preconceived notions of success or creative struggle. And it's it's something really personal to us. So um, it's a really healing process, but that's what I've been putting most of my creative energy into. And there's, um, I think part of it is also, we get to meet dope Asian people and just kind of be like, can we spend intimate time with you and like get to know you and be in your space? And it's such a privilege to be able to do that because these people are busy. They have so many things going on. They're choosing to share their lives with us. Um, but the way I see it is also that by telling these stories, we also get to build upon our own archival history as Asian Americans. That, we did a commission project for the Asian American Arts Alliance for the 48th year anniversary and for the retrospective. And we had to pull stories from like NYU's old like library, like these digital archives, and the footage was really sparse, um, and kind of fuzzy and all of that. And I think that made me feel even more that the stories we tell today are going to be important for our future generations too, because even if people are going to watch it, but even if no one watches it, even if it doesn't make like that sort of commercial success, um, these stories that we pour months into making, they're going to be something that our subjects can look back on and be like, this is who I used to be. And this is something that they can share with their family and loved ones or look back on themselves. And I think that itself is a gift because a lot of what we do in the storytelling is just reflect the beauty of who we're covering back to them and being like, you're fucking brilliant. And this is how we see you. And this is the gift that you're putting into the world. And it's really special because I think I'm not great at advocating for myself, but when it comes for advocating for our subjects or people that we work with, it's really easy because you're like, you're fucking awesome. It's kind of like when people talk about when you go into business negotiations or salary negotiations, like advocate thinking that it's for your best friend and not for yourself. I think that's kind of how I feel about our work, where it's like I'm uncompromising about certain things with their subjects and protecting their story and making sure they feel comfortable, and it's not something that I think that I would consciously fight for myself. So I'm learning a lot through the process, but we have some really, really dope stories lined up, um, like Lucy You of You and Me Books. We've been working on that story for about a year now, and just seeing so many different even like physical versions of our subjects, like throughout the year, like different hair colors, different styles. It's it's kind of sad to leave them after that, because it's like we've been looking forward to having these like interviews with them, or we've been a part of their routine in some way. Um, but it's it's been a really meaningful experience. I think similar to you guys doing samcha. Like, when do you get the opportunity to sit down with people and just ask them about their lives and get them to share the highlights or the lowlights of what they've experienced to get to this point? So, like, I hang on every word, and I feel really grateful that people trust me and Chad and Esther to tell their stories. And Oof is a continuation of, for me, it's like a reiteration of going towards heartbreak too, because Oof is like a physical experience. And the way that I've described it before is that, you know, like, if all of us are connected by a single thread, Oof is the tug that draws you near. Oof is that tug that connects you to people. It's like a physical tug. When you feel like you see yourself in an image or a story that moves you. And I think that we're meant to be physical people. Like, and emotion seems so fleeting and so abstract, but emotions are, our bodies are so aligned with our emotions, and that's how I make sense of the world and that I'm processing, when I feel it in my body. And so we're just like, oh, I hope that people go oof when they watch our films, that they feel something in the very least. Could be anything, but something that breaks them out of their bodies. That's the goal.
Yeah.
I'm going oof now. You know what I mean? Like,
I was also thinking, I was like, who's gonna do the oof story on oof stories?
Samcha. It's gonna be like some chaotic angles, just like.
Oh my gosh!
It's like a joy to work with your friends, like to have a reason to work together.
How did you pick your team? Like, how did you pick? Like, I am going to be working with my partner Chad, and I am going to be picking Esther. Like, these are questions that you probably
how did it come
floated
to
around.
be? What's the origin story?
I think that you know, like, whenever you have a dream, you think that there's so much you need to do to get there. Like, you need more money, you need more experience, you need more technical skills, like, you need all these things. But I think Oof was the first time when Chad, it was really Chad, my partner, who reminded me, like, we have everything that we need. Like, there's nothing more you need to look for. Like, we can handle this.
Just do it.
Yeah. And that's kind of the partner that he's been for me in my life, where it's like, I'll be like, oh, I want to make banana bread. And I've told this story to Christine before. And
I love the story. Oh, I should have said that story.
When I say, like, I want to make banana bread, I don't mean now. It's like, I kind of want to make it like later, you know, whenever I feel like it. And he's the type, well, he'll like put the bananas down, and like he'll lay out all the ingredients and all the tools and be like,
Aww.
you gonna make it? Like, he's like, like, you said you would. And then I can't say no. I'm like, oh shit, like, this person is holding me accountable to things. Like, he won't take it as far as doing the thing for me, but he'll make it really easy for me to step into the kitchen and like get to work. And that's how it was with Oof. And so I was at Joanne, like our mutual friend Joanne's barbecue, and I was talking to her friend, and just like a beautiful summer day, and he was so inspiring. He was like telling me that he was a drummer drumming for like Korea's reunification. It was like some like revolutionary drumming that he did. And I was like, someone needs to tell your story. And I was like, you know, like one of those moments when you're just so taken by someone, you're like, wow. And I was like, someone needs to tell your story. And so I sent like a really manic voice memo, like an audio message to Esther and to Chad, be like, I just met this person, like I'm just having all these visual ideas of like how to tell their story. I think we should make documentaries about people. This would be lit. Like, and it was at a time where like Esther, Chad, and I were all kind of feeling creatively low because Esther works at Planned Parenthood and I was, working politics, and Chad works in food and beverage space, but we were all kind of looking for something exciting and inspiring. And at that point, I think it was 2021, maybe beginning of 2022. It was just, I think collectively we were really exhausted by like the narrative about the AAPI community being like, in response to the hate crimes, this community came together and was so resilient. And I'm like, yes, but like we have been here. We helped build this nation. Our people are wonderful. And like, it's not always in response to tragedy that we come together. Our society like values collectivism. Like we've always been here for each other. And so it was sort of frustrations from that as well, being like, let's tell stories that uplift our community that isn't in response to tragedy, just showing people what like the beauty of the people in our community and just telling their story as is, not something over triumph, just tell me about the beautiful things that you create and that you do. It was a moment of chaos. And if I had known how much it takes to make documentaries, I would have taken a second before I hit send, because now we're deep in it. And it's a lot of work.
You better save that voice memo because that's going in the oops.
Yeah, that's going into the,
That's going in
the
the Oof
stories,
Museum. So we're going even deeper into our third round, samcha. And I wanted to ask and also touch up on this point of like, I remember seeing Claudine like before Oof Stories, and she mentioned that like she was feeling creatively down. And when I see her like pre and post Oof Stories, of course, there's a lot of other things that have happened in her life. I can see that like a part of her spirit has blossomed because of Oof Stories. And so I want to ask you and like also hear from you, like, how has creating served you? How has it poured into you? Like, how have you used it to heal? What impact has creating art have on you?
Thank you for saying that, because I think it has. Oh my god, I'm like getting really emotional, but it has changed my life. I can see why you get people drunk on this.
You need to collab with Hot Ones where like you drink and do the chicken.
Wow, manifestation
drunk
station
personal
alone.
history. Yeah. Well, I think just to give some more context, I identify now strongly as an artist, but I had actually put that behind me. I sort of closed up shop after I made my last exhibition, which was called Garden of Buried Dreams. And that exhibition was for my mom. And my life sort of split into two, like before my mom passed and after. And before my mom passed, like at that year of my life, I was in Korea. And right when I came back from Korea, where I was translating the testimonies of comfort women, right when I landed, my mom was like, I'm sick. And 6 weeks later, she passed. And that was like deeply a test for me, where I was like a really bubbly, happy-go-lucky sort of girl. And sorry. And when that happened, I sort of I lost myself in a big way. And I remember thinking nothing, like, art doesn't matter, nothing I'm doing matters. And I've given everything that I can already. So I'm okay not being an artist anymore. And that's when I switched into politics, actually. Because dealing with insurance companies while my mom was sick made me so angry and broke my heart so much that I was like, I need to go make universal healthcare a reality in America so that you don't have to fight insurance companies to get people the healthcare they need to survive. And so I had these like very split personalities for myself. And so, but I think, I guess I could talk a little bit of Garden of Buried Dreams, but Garden of Buried Dreams was for my mom, because my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom, and she raised the three of us and three girls. And growing up, I remember thinking my mom regretted a lot about her life. And I remember thinking she could have been a lot of things, and she chose to be a mom, and she chose to be our mom. And so I made this exhibition before she passed and before I knew she was going to pass, where I had people write down their dreams on biodegradable paper, the dreams that could never came to be for whatever reason, the dreams that they had to let go of. And I made a mock funeral procession where I built a coffin, like a bamboo coffin. I put soil in it, and I directed a funeral where everyone came down the aisle with these papers of the dreams that they have to lay to rest, which for whatever reason didn't come to be, and they would plant it in the coffin. And part of my art then was, after the funeral, I watered the coffin until flowers grew out of those discarded dreams and those buried dreams. And for my mom, that was like a way to tell her, it's a good thing that you dream, because dreams never die, they just rebirth new ones. Like it was important to have that initial dream in the first place so that you can sprout a new one, which is how I think about my creative journey too. Like, there's so many discarded projects and so many discarded dreams, but all of them I honor because they help me birth the next one and the next one after. But after I had that exhibition, I really did think I gave everything that I could. I was like, okay, I feel release. I've even done this mock funeral procession, which is very, very me, very dark and also bright at the same time. And yeah, and I just kind of dug my head into politics, and I told my story on the campaign trail many times over about my mom and why I was fighting for the things I was fighting for. And I think it wasn't until Oof that I began to see myself as light again. I think that I thought that my mom's death would always make my life bittersweet. And I was scared of that happening, that no matter what I touch, it was always going to be a little minor key, a little melancholy. And I really prided myself in someone as being really optimistic and bright and very oh, look at the rainbows. And I'm still like that, thank God. But I found a part of myself come back to me with Oof, because we were surrounding ourselves with really bright and uncompromising and purposeful, intentional people. And these brilliant people were choosing to trust us with their stories, which to me meant I'm still here, because that's something that I really prided myself in. And I think when you're around beautiful things, it draws beauty out of you as well. And just the more people that I meet in my life, I've become more social again. Um, like I'm realizing that like maybe the collection of people around me really is a reflection of me, and I have pretty damn good people in my life, and they're so willing to affirm the beauty that they see in me. Like Christine is, you've been a big part of that, of me feeling like, oh, she's not just saying this to be nice. Like she actually, I can see it in her eyes that she believes something in me and that she treasures me, and you show it in your actions. And so I think your love has helped me in my creative process and in my own becoming. Um, so I think now I'm just trusting myself that I haven't lost myself, that I've become someone new, and that the dark parts that I've carried through me help me kind of give other things more dimension and more shade. And so I think all those things help me be a better storyteller. But the creative process with Oof, yeah, I feel like I'm not climbing to find my place anymore. I'm just happy to be where I'm at. Because I think, yeah, for many years after my mom passed, I had trouble finding my place. And so I definitely recommend doing a creative project that you do with your friends, because doing things on your own really sucks. And as a writer, you do most things on your own. So yeah, it's like I feel silly again. Yeah. Even though like most of the time, like the things that I talk about and the things I write about are so dark, because it's like talking about the things that people need, talking about the reasons why New York is so hard to survive for people. Like as a speechwriter, that's what I write about all day. And so just a little switch up in energy has been really good. You guys want to take another shot?
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that's just really the only thing to do. And
Cheers. Also, I just feel like this shot, this toast is like, Claudine, just thank you for just like bearing your soul. Like that was, yeah, it's like that's not like what we like necessarily ask for or like expect. And it's like just the fact that you came so ready to share those parts of you, like I just appreciate it so much. Yeah, thank you. So that's, I just wanted to
to you.
before I take that disgusting shot. Oh my god.
Thank you guys. It's
When you were saying, when you were sharing all of that, I was imagining, you know that there's like there's a saying where it's like your grief doesn't shrink, it's just like you grow around like your grief, and like
yeah.
it, I thought of that, but then I thought of your garden of broken dreams, because that's a similar concept where the broken dreams don't go away, but they then create like more space and like more beauty.
Yeah.
So just you sharing that, those were the images that were like
I
just,
love that.
popping up in my head as you were sharing. So thank
Yeah.
you.
I think I'll take that with me too. I think that's a great way to describe grief. I think grief is also like people think about it as like a really sad thing, but I no, I probably have conditioned all my friends to talk about grief. Like I pretty normalize grief with a lot of my friends. So I think that like I think about my mom when I hear Elvis Presley. Like I think about my mom when I like miss a recipe, which is why I started cooking, and it's why I do a lot of Dear Saturdays recipes, because I'm like, I miss chupa. Like, I need to make it for
Yeah.
myself.
Mm.
But grief is also, it's something that everyone will experience in their lives. And I think it's important to talk about, because I think me and my sisters all have different ways of experiencing and expressing grief. They are not like me at all.
Mm.
And they wouldn't share any of the things that I share today. But for me, it's become part of why I think I can laugh a lot more. And when I think about my mom, I think it's not like, ah, sad. It's more like, damn, she's not here right now. Like, that's crazy. Like, it can also be that too. Or like, or just like thinking about, like, I just think about her in a lot of different ways, and it's not always sad. And I don't think grief needs to be sad. It's like loss isn't always a sad thing. And I think loss is also, I wrote about this too, about kind of how in some way I was grateful my mom passed so quickly, because she didn't have to bear like the burden of her like decaying body. She was a very proud woman, very fashionable lady, and it freed me up to live my life too, because being a caregiver is so tough, that I think it was the most merciful way and graceful way that she could have passed. So it's a lot of things. So yeah, I'll invite you guys to my my like funeral one day when I'm still alive. Like, you guys should watch. Do you guys watch Grace and Frankie?
No. I've heard it's
I
good.
watched the first season.
Jane,
First 2 seasons? Yeah.
I forgot what the other actress's name is, but Jane Fonda and
Lily Tomlin
Lily
or something. Tomlinson.
Yeah.
It's a great show about like aging. And one of the episodes, I'll send it to you guys after, but one of the episodes is about this woman, Babe, who is larger than life and throws this fabulous going away party for herself, because at the end of the night she chooses to like expire, like assisted suicide, but it's like a fabulous party, and like she just lives it with so much fun, so much life. So I think that death is not always like this sad dark thing that it is. For a lot of people it's freedom and it's release. Not, I mean, like 1-800-suicide, but like please edit some of this. But like, I don't mean it like that, but like, like I'm like, I like hanging out at cemeteries. It's like a really peaceful thing to like reflect on your life and to know that everyone's day comes.
I think like when I reflect on the conversations we've had about loss and grief and losing your mom, it gets me to a place where I appreciate and think about like my mom even more, because it's like you had 6 weeks with your mom, and I know that you made the most of what you could with the time that you had with her. And so I think also there's just like a lot of lessons and like wisdom that you impart through having lost your mom so early. Like I'm pretty sure we're all going to go down this path and experience this loss at a certain point, but I think that because you've had time to like process and grieve, and you kind of like have this it's like I know I'm going to call you and be like, Claudine, what do I do? Like I don't know what to do right now.
Yeah. No.
And so I really appreciate that. Like it could have, I think in that moment, you could have made so many decisions on where to take your grief and your loss. But the thing that I admire about you so much is that you created something beautiful out of it. And that is like a testament to like what's inside of your soul, and also like what your mom planted in you too, is that um, you you made something beautiful out of that, and you continue to do so out of like other people's stories and things that you've also experienced personally. So I just want to also cheers to you and your
Are you doing another
resilience and
one?
your wisdom.
Oh my god. This is turning
Wow.
into
Okay,
something
I'm like-
crazy.
Yeah, it's just yeah, there's so much to admire about your act of the decisions that you make, and how that optimism still like sprouts in you no matter what. It's just a part of you, even though in your darker times it doesn't seem like it. It's just it's like your DNA. You're like programmed that way.
I call it like willful optimism, where you're like just willing this to happen. And I think, yeah, I think the thing is that like the thing I feared the most in my life already happened. So now I'm sort of free to live my life with a little less fear and a little more openness. So I think there's also in that there was a gift in her passing. Going back to storytelling, taking down stories, taking down your family's oral history, that is so important. Yeah, maybe there are like some questions that we can all ask our moms, you know? Mine was like my favorite recipe. On her deathbed, I asked her, like, where do I go to find you when you're no longer here? And she was like, in your sisters. And she was like, because you guys all share a part of me. And so I think I learned not to be shy about the questions that I want to ask, even if it can be like not appropriate or whatever it might be, but ask everything that you can of your parents and your grandparents and all of that.
I asked my grandmother where she hid her money because I knew she had a fat stack of cash.
Did she tell you?
She did. She did. I
get
was
it?
the only one. Yeah, I was the only one that knew. And
You
then
were the
when she
heiress?
passed, well, no, I
Heiress.
needed to, I needed to share and figure that out. But I was the
"Hi,
only
money.
one.
Where's your money?"
But you were the one who asked.
I was the one that asked, and so, God, yeah,
Yeah, that generation likes to hide big sums of cash.
wads of
I
cash.
actually had
Yeah.
a dream. I had a dream last week. So I'm a very Claudine. I'm a very like active sleeper. So like I'll cry in my sleep. I'll laugh in my sleep. I'll move around. I'll talk. Like Megan and Christine know from like sleeping next to me.
Grind her teeth,
I'll
like
grind my teeth. I'll
punch,
kick
like, yeah.
people. Anyway, so
Wow.
then last week I think I was like crying in my sleep. And then Dane, usually like I get scissor lock a lot or like I cry, so Dane will just like put his like arm on me. It kind of like acts as a weighted blanket. But anyway, so he did that last week, and then in the morning he always asks like, oh, like what were you dreaming about? And last week it was so weird. I was like in my home, like my parents' home in LA, and then we were just like having a conversation in the kitchen, and then my grandpa was there, who passed away in 2015, so it's like coming on 9 years now. But in the dream it was like normal that he was there, but then I was like, oh, I haven't seen you in forever, like I'm so confused, like, but then we're acting normal, but I realize I haven't seen you in forever, so this is really strange. And then he just like left, and then that's when I was like crying in my sleep. Where the fuck was I going with this story? I don't even know.
Did you ask your
Did you
grandfather?
ask him?
Yeah.
I didn't.
Did you
and
ask him where his money was?
I think that's why I was. Oh, okay, that's where it was. I think that's why I started crying, because I realized, like, in the
You
dream,
didn't ask him?
yeah, in the dream, not just about the money, but like in the dream, and then in life, I guess it's like I didn't ask him enough, and like in the dream, I didn't ask him anything. I was like, I asked no questions. I was just like, oh, that's weird. Like I haven't seen you in a long time, but like you're here, so like whatever. And then he left. So that was the connection. Thank you. So I think it's just reaffirming the ask the questions that you have, like don't be shy about doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Korean people will not volunteer
Mhm.
information if you don't nail them down. Like they'll be
Mhm.
like, "That's how we lived." I'm like, "That's how you lived." Like that's you got to tell me more about that. Like it's just
Mhm.
learning so much about your family just by like kind of I don't know. You learn a lot by kind of treating them not necessarily as family, but like as someone to learn from. And like it gets kind of it can get uncomfortable, but would do it. Definitely ask for the money at though.
Yeah.
The most important question.
Where the money at?
Wait, Megan, how did you ask the question? Were you like,
No,
how
I was
many?
like dead ass, like
You're like,
straight
할머니,
face, like
돈
how
어디 있어요?
many? I was like, 할머니, you told me that you were hiding a bunch of cash in the apartment. And I was like, we're at the hospital.
We need to know.
I was like, 할머니, 그래도 알아야지. Like we gotta, we gotta know. So she told me and I was like, well, shit. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a very it was like a question that like my mom even was like, oh, 할머니가
Where is
그때,
it? Yeah.
like she did mention that, but like I can't ask her, and I was like, I'll fucking ask.
Yeah.
It's like I'll ask.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
I think so with samcha. Yeah, 돈 주세요. With samcha in the third round, I usually throw in like a monkey wrench
Food,
kind of
yes.
question.
Yes.
So I want to ask y'all, in the passing of your grandmother, your mother, your grandfather, what is one treasured thing that they passed down to you that you will take on? Or something that it could be physical, it could be not. But what is one thing in that passing that you hold on to?
I have one. Those came really fast.
Okay.
I mean, I know I mentioned my grandfather earlier, but my grandma, she passed in 96. And I just have memories of she would always make the perfect soft boiled eggs with salt, pepper, and what is it? Sesame seeds. Um, and so that's just like a simple thing. Like anytime I make soft boiled eggs in the morning, I think of her. So that's the thing I've carried since, for what is that? Like 20, almost 20 years now. Yeah. Yep.
I am getting so emotional thinking about softball eggs right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like a simple thing, but I boil the water and it's like I think of her. And I put on the toppings. So yeah, I just remember being so astonished by the texture of the yolk. Like, what? You can like make soft boiled, because my mom would always make hard boiled eggs, but then my grandma's eggs were like amazing. So
I sort of have like a food related one too, which is like when the recipe calls for 2 cloves of garlic, you're kidding yourself. Like it's the whole bulb, and like the garlic,
Oh,
할머니
Megan.
할머니 always put like so much garlic and also onion, tamanegi. She would always say it in Japanese. And she would always say tamanegi gakwa, and she would always have her like alliums in a different spot in the apartment. And so like alliums are always something that I'll think of when I think of halmoni, and when I think of halmoni I always think of alliums. And so it'll be a piece of, even though this
it's a
is
little
backwards, here we
little
go.
phallic.
I know it does look
Phallic
like ball
adjacent.
sacks, I hear. But here's my garlic to
Garlic tattoo.
remember halmoni by.
Special garlic, lucky garlic.
I think for me, it was both of my grandparents. They instilled this really, I guess, just like closeness in family. So, because they had lost their family through the war, they're all in North Korea now. They made sure that their kids, their family was very, very close. And also, like, my grandpa had this just really good head on his shoulders. And I would never question my grandpa or my grandma. Like, they had such a strong, moral compass. And that's like it was like he had like a really good leadership kind of, he's just like the head of the household. And that's something that I really revere, is that like when I get older, I just meet just like questionable people, or like just characters. But when I think about like the pure hearts that my grandparents had, that's like something that I hold on to, is that that is possible to meet people like that, even though they like live through so much. And there's so many areas that they could have just decided not to be good people. But um, yeah, that's what I carry from my grandparents.
I think my mom had a lot of like isms. Like she would tell me when she said a lot of crazy shit. But she would say, "Don't let your boyfriend keep you from meeting your boyfriend." I'm like, what does that mean? Or like, don't let
Wait,
your
I love
boyfriend.
that.
She's amazing.
She
love
said,
that.
don't let your boyfriend keep you from meeting your husband." And then
Oh my
she was,
God.
and then she would
Yes.
also say like,
Wow.
"Can't find Jimmy's shoes, shopping at Payless." And I'm like, I don't know what these things mean, but she had a lot of like, she had a lot of like quippy like one-liners.
You make a book of
And
these.
I know, and they're all chaotic and some of them toxic. But when I think about my mom, I think about like kind of the ridiculous things she used to say, and it always brings a smile to my face.
Wait, can you start a Twitter account of just like your
Yeah.
past
That'd be
mom's
so
isms?
fun.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, she she said some shit.
I just love how it's also rooted in
We
like,
want to know.
yeah, like you deserve the best, you know?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
she taught me about the birds and the bees through my dogs. Like I had two dogs, Coco and Tori. Coco's a Maltese, Tori's a poodle, and like Tori would get little red rockets, like boners, when he would smell treats. Like he was just so excited. And Coco would hump Tigger until Tigger became like takake. Like it was like it was
Stiff. and
yeah,
hard.
it was stiff. And my mom was like, "Look at these boys. You think they love? You think sex is love? It's not. It just is." She goes, men will think with their dicks. So don't think too much of it and
Wow.
choose your judgment. Like,
At
and I
what
was
age
like,
did she
Wow.
teach you this
Wow.
lesson?
I was like 18. I was with my best friend.
Wait, I thought you were gonna say 8.
I
And
know,
I was
no,
like,
no.
wait, hold
No, I was like
Progressive.
18. I was 18, and I don't know why she decided to tell us these things. It was just like in the act of my dog going to town on Tigger, and I was like, now I want to be
Oh my
celibate
gosh.
because this is fucking gross. But she always like,
So it worked.
yeah,
It worked.
she always had a way of like saying ridiculous things to get her point across. And I think that's kind of
She's
how
a
I live life,
storyteller.
too. Yeah, for sure. She was a writer and she was an artist herself, and I think part of the way I honor her is to carry that legacy forward and make more of the things that she felt like more of my dreams come true, because of the ways, in so many ways, in which she wasn't able to do all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'll start tweeting under a pseudonym.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say your mom's like silk pajamas. So like for our
Oh,
listeners
yeah.
to imagine Claudine's mom, like Claudine will show up sometimes in these like crazy feathered silk pajamas, or like the satin red bomber jacket.
Yes.
That
Oh, my
is
mom's fashion
Claudine's mom.
was great. Like she
Wow.
was a bargain like hunter. So she'll wear like a jacket that's originally like $2 that she bought for $3, and like pair it with like sparkly pants and like she was
Wow.
she would show up, and so I inherited a lot of her wardrobe, and so I wear a lot of that because it just it feels really good. And if you guys haven't
Love that.
watched, it's called Worn Stories on Netflix. It's about like special pieces of clothing that have stories attached to them that people
Mm.
will share. Um, you guys should watch that. It's like a
Mm.
great like documentary of storytelling, and it's how I feel about my mom's clothes.
I really want to talk
Are we
about
gonna
that.
like Megan? Are you gonna come to New York so we could party?
I
Because
know.
I have.
You need to hurry.
I know.
Well, after I get back from Korea, because I'm leaving in 2
I
days.
know.
Oh my gosh, when are you
Oh
going to
my
Korea?
God.
Well, so I'm going to
Literally.
Paris on Tuesday, and then I'm in France for 2 weeks. I'm in London for a week. I'm in Korea for a month, and then I'm back in New York. I'm taking 3 months off
Lucky.
work.
Oh my God.
That's so good.
Surprise! Samcha
That's-
listeners, exclusive.
I'm
She's going on
so-
sabbatical, baby.
I'm so happy for you. Korea was a
Yeah.
blast.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm
I just-
excited, and it's my
So
grandma.
fun.
My grandma is turning 90 this year.
Wow.
So, and I haven't been to Korea since 2018. So I'm
Wow.
glad I can see
Wow.
her,
Yeah.
see the family. Yeah.
Korea's happening right
That'll be
now.
fun.
It's
Mhm.
like
Dude.
it's popping.
So
It's
fun.
the underground culture. Like, oof. I lost my goddamn
You just
mind.
came back from Korea.
I lost my
right?
mind every night.
Ooh,
It was,
all right, send me the Rex.
Yeah, it was healing. No, but we should all hang out and like have fun because
Yeah.
I kind of have a
Yeah.
thing where like if it's really like heavy one time when I'm hanging out with friends, the next time I want it to be stupid, like real stupid. So like we have to find the
We
balance.
can make it stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. Love
Yeah.
it.
No,
I love that.
thank you guys so much. I
Thank
really
you,
appreciate